Now, if you are tired of chasing the day, always feeling overwhelmed and stressed, and you want to start feeling more in control, then I'm here to recommend that you get up early. And what I mean by that is that you intentionally get up earlier than you need to in order to take control of your day. Now, if you want to have better balance this year, if you want to be able to do your day job, to lawyer with more ease, then getting up early is the strategy you want to take, right? So in this session, what I'm talking about today is going to be an absolute game changer for you if you embrace it and you do it consistently, you follow it through, the results it will create for you will blow your mind. That's what's been happening with my clients. It's been my experience. Just that switch to getting up a little bit earlier every single day is a game changer. So what I'm going to share with you today is really a strategy for generally getting better at managing your time. Because when you manage your time, the better you get at that, it means the more time you will have and the more in control of it that you will feel. And you know what that means, right? If you have more time, it means more time for the other things, right? The things that aren't work, but the other important things you wish you had time for, like being with your friends or with your family, or time to get fit. That might be one of your goals this year. And also time to add a bit of fun into your life as well. So managing your time gives you more time, puts you more in control of it. And the control piece is important too, because if you feel like you're more in control of your time, then that just calms everything down for you. And you can do your job with so much more ease when you are calm and you feel in control. So stay tuned if feeling overwhelmed or feeling stressed is an issue for you and you want more balance and more ease this year. Right, so if you're watching this video, you might be listening to it, but if you're also watching it, just a note to say if you want captions, then they can be enabled from within whatever platform you are watching this on. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Caroline Flanagan. I am the imposter syndrome coach for lawyers who want to get out of their own way and just really start fulfilling their potential. And I help you do that in a program called Imposter Syndrome Coaching for Lawyers, where we take 6 months and we help you achieve the goals of getting better balance, more confidence, be able to lawyer with more ease, and get more of the recognition that you deserve. And one of the things I teach in Imposter Syndrome Coaching for Lawyers is this strategy of getting up early as part of an overall plan to manage your time, give you that extra time and that feeling of being more in control. And you can enjoy your job a lot more than you do so far. So your morning routine is really what sets you up for the day. And your morning routine starts with what time you get up. So here's what I'm going to be talking about in this session. I'm going to give you 6 reasons why getting up earlier is an absolute must, right? I want you to put it top of your to-do list. I'm going to give you 4 of the things that you need to stop doing right now that you're currently doing when you wake up in the mornings because they're not serving you. I'm going to tell you of the 3 most common mistakes people make when they decide to try this out and decide, yeah, right, I heard what Caroline says, I want to give it a go, I want that result of more balance and lawyering with more ease. And they go out and they try and do it, but they make 3 very common mistakes. I'm going to tell you those too. And then finally, I'm going to warn you of the 5 objections that your brain is going to offer you when you set out to do this work, when you set out to change this habit. And in fact, as I talk about this today, as I talk you through what you need to do, your brain may already start throwing up lots of objections or have lots of thoughts that would mean you think this wouldn't apply to you or it just wouldn't work for you. So if that's happening, then sort of hold tight. I will be answering those objections right at the end. Okay, so let's dive in. Why getting up early is an absolute must. Now, the best way I can describe this is actually in the words of one of my clients. I was coaching her this morning on this very subject. And what she said just so beautifully summed up the difference between like landing, like falling into your day and getting up early and taking control of your day. She said to me, well, when I'm getting up early and I've got my morning routine, I feel like I'm winning. How perfect is that as an explanation for like how impactful it is to get up earlier than you need to in order to take control of your day? So this is all about helping you to feel like you're winning. And here's what that looks like. It looks like waking up and feeling that like just the very fact that you have decided what time to get up as opposed to the time you're getting up being dictated by what's already in your calendar, i.e. somebody else's like expectation of you or demand of you, something that's required of you, right? Instead of it being that dictates what time you drag yourself out of bed, you get to decide. And just in making that decision, you will both be and feel more in control. Another reason why it's a must for you is let's not ignore the little things. It's definitely going to increase your chance of being on time. Now, I'm thinking right now of my son. I won't name him and shame him, but one of my sons who happens to be a teenager and who has a certain train to catch every morning for school. And this morning, once again, I found him fast asleep at the time his train was supposed to have left. So it happens, right? Because he tends to set his alarm for the very last minute. There is that risk, of course, that it's not going to go off or you're not going to hear it or you're going to ignore it. And then suddenly you start your day in a rush, feeling stressed. Now, that's just one example. And it might be an extreme one. Maybe you're not like that late for everything. But even just being 5 minutes late puts you on the back foot, and it has a knock-on effect throughout the rest of the day. So I want to tell you that getting up earlier than you need to is one of the ways that you can make sure you are always on time. Very important. You're going to be more organized. Just the very fact that you have that space where you will have thought ahead. Just created the space where you're not actually working on the things you're required to be doing during the day, creates the space that allows you to have that level of organization. One of the things about getting up early is you have to think about what time you're getting up, and you have to and you set that based on what time you need to start getting ready for the day, right? So all of that requires a level of organization that you just don't have or develop when you're just doing the bare minimum, as in you're getting up at the latest possible moment. So you're going to be more organized. You're less likely to forget stuff, right? That goes with being more organized. You are going to be much better at prioritizing. I love the idea that, or the image even, that getting up earlier, right, than you need to creates this space to look at your day before you are in your day. I just think that's a beautiful example of just thinking like that makes me feel calmer and more in control. I can see it before I'm in it. So I love that it helps you, therefore, because you can see it with some perspective from outside of it, you are able to prioritize. You can see what's really important ahead of time. And of course, that affects the decisions you then make throughout the day because you've always got in mind those priorities. I've written down here that one of the musts for you, right? Reason why this is a must for you is that you will actually work less during the day. And this is real feedback from a client who found that when she was rushing into the day, sometimes late, sometimes doing things in a rush, not being organized, not necessarily as prepared as she would like to be, what she tended to do was overcompensate. So in meetings, if they started a bit late, she would overcompensate with how late she stayed or how much she contributed, right? Or she would feel like there'd be a sense of guilt if you are having to adapt your day early on because it started late, you're a little bit disorganized. And there's that sense of guilt. Oh, I wasn't in the office as early as I perhaps should have been or I wanted to be. Therefore, I need to work later in order to make up for that. So there's this sneaky way in which your brain will try to compensate when it feels that you're not as organized as you could be. You weren't as on time as you should have been, right? So it can actually lead to you working less than you would otherwise when you're scrambling around catching up with the day. Finally, and this is the seventh, it's a bonus. I think in the comments or in the show notes, I said I would give you 6 reasons why getting up early is a must. This is the bonus reason, it's reason number 7. And that is, again, coming from a client, it's a wonderful way of achieving your goals. You know, the goals that aren't urgent, the goals that go round and round in a loop in your head when like you remember it's a goal and then you get busy and caught up with stuff and you think I'll get round to it or I'll do it when I'm less busy. Goals like reading more, goals like getting fit, losing the weight, looking after your diet, right? Better self-care, okay? So the beautiful thing about getting up earlier is it creates a space in your day, a protected space that no one else is entitled to or has a pass to, right? Where you can actually make that small little bit of progress towards your goals. So many reasons why getting up earlier is a must. All right, so let's talk about, well, what you're doing now that you need to stop doing right now because it's not serving you. It's not a great way to start your day, right? Number 1, I want you to stop when you go to bed the night before. I want you to stop asking yourself, now what's the latest I can get up, right? Because if you ask yourself what's the latest you can get up, then you are literally planning. It's like you're planning ahead to have a stressful, out of control day. Why would you do that? Why would you plan for your day to feel out of control? I want you to stop that, having that question when you go to bed at night, right? What's the latest I can get up? Instead, you want to ask yourself, right, what time do I need to get up in order to be up, but like before my day starts, right? Completely different. So you think about what your first commitments are, you think about what you need to do, the getting ready bit in order to meet that commitment, right? And what time that would be. And then you work backwards from there and use that as the benchmark for what time you set your alarm, not the latest time you can get up in the mornings. Second thing you're doing right now, which I know so many of you do, and if you're watching this live or you re-watching the replay, then if this is you, let me know in the comments. You press snooze. I promise you, you won't be the only one. I think almost everybody I know and have asked, they use the snooze button. Did you know you could turn that off when you set your alarm? You could have no snooze. The problem with the snooze button is you wake up and that first alarm it's like a little tickle, okay? It nudges you that it's almost time to get up. But what it tells your brain is you don't really need to get up. It persuades you. It's like, I don't know. I was going to say it's like being forced to stay in bed. That's not quite right. It's more the fact that it takes the impact of your initial alarm. It completely reduces the effect of that because you know there's the snooze. And I know you know this is true because I can just picture you lying in bed and the alarm going off and thinking, and I know this because I used to do it a long time ago, right? Oh, I'll just press snooze. It's fine. I've got another 10 minutes. I've got this many minutes. I've got this many minutes, right? Now, I have a rule that was actually absolutely the key for me in making the transition from being someone who got up late, snoozed till the last minute, stumbled into my day, to being where I am now, where I get up earlier than I need to, usually an hour earlier because I progressed to that level. I get up an hour earlier than I need to, and I never, ever have the snooze button on. My alarm goes off. I usually wake up a little bit before it, and I never press snooze. I want to offer you that as a mantra to help you get out of the snoozing habit. It does not serve you. Think about it. You don't want to make a decision about what time you get up just as you're waking up. Of course, your brain's going to tell you to stay in bed. It's nice and cozy in there. Of course, your brain's going to tell you you're tired. You're just waking up. Of course, you feel tired. That's not the decision. That's not the time to make the decision about when it's right to get up. So my hack for you is just don't even allow the snooze option on your alarm. See what a difference that makes. So the third thing I want you to stop doing right now, because it's not serving you, is I want you to stop delaying yourself from getting out of bed, like delaying. It's connected to the snooze thing, but it's your like, oh, well, it's when you check your watch and you check in with what your appointment is and you think, oh, well, I don't have to be there until. And you use that, right, as the benchmark for when you get up. I've just seen a comment there from Lorraine. Hi, Lorraine. I must get up earlier, she says. It does make a difference. Thanks for the reminder. It's a game changer, Lorraine. So I'm glad to have reminded you. Let me know how you get on. So stop delaying getting out of bed based on what you're thinking and feeling in that moment, and like what you're calculating as being the latest time you can get up based on your first appointment. I know this is something that I know my husband does sometimes, not very often, but if he's like planned to go to the gym first thing in the morning, sometimes he might have that kind of, oh, well, actually, I don't need to be there until, and then roll out of bed right at that last minute. He goes very early, but still, the decision about what time to get up, you can see the thread here, right? Shouldn't be made in the moment when you're just waking up. It's just not going to happen. And then finally, now I know a lot of you do this. I seem to have lost my notes, have disappeared. They're back. A lot of you do this, and that is you check your phone first thing in the morning. Are you checking your devices and your phone and your messages and your emails the minute you wake up? Why are you doing that? Look, here's the thing, right? If you are making this transition to getting up earlier, right, then the bonus is if you're getting up earlier than you need to, then there's that whole bit of time when you don't even need to check your devices. No one's expecting you to be awake. It's earlier than you need to be awake. So that's a very good reason for you not to check your devices. Now, if you're anything like my clients, right, you're going to be freaking out at the idea that you get up and not check your phone immediately. Yes, it will be uncomfortable. Yes, your brain will suggest to you that you're going to miss something, something urgent that's come up. You need to know that is just a result of a habit that you haven't questioned in too long a time. It's just a habit. It's just your brain holding on to what you've always done. What we're doing here is changing that habit because we want a different result. We want you to feel in control of your day. And ironically, that starts with not checking your devices. I use the example when I'm explaining this to my clients of, if you imagined that you owned a shop, right? If you had a shop and the opening hours, let's say it was open for business normally at 8 o'clock. That's what everybody knew, right? You checking your phone as soon as you wake up, it's like you opening the shop, right? To the public, to everybody else, to everybody that isn't you, opening the shop and saying, we're open, like an hour before you're open for business. Like, can you imagine the shop is not quite ready. It's not quite prepared and able to serve you 100%. The shop still needs to sort itself out, ground itself, be calm, get everything in order, right? So don't open the shop before opening hours. I don't know how that analogy sounds. It works for me. Don't open the shop. Leave the shop closed. You do your thing, right? Before you open the shop, i.e. before you check your emails and any of your devices, right? So those are the 4 things I want you to stop doing right away. Stop delaying, stop setting your alarm for the latest minute, stop pressing snooze, and please stop checking your phone first thing in the morning. Right, so what else do I need to cover with you today? Yeah, well, let's talk about your incentive, right, for changing your morning habits, your morning routine, for getting up earlier. And the biggest one really is this idea that when you fall into your day, what happens, I know from my experience, is you end up chasing the day. What does that look like? It looks like feeling and being rushed, feeling stressed and panicked and overwhelmed sometimes, feeling like you're never in control and things happen to you. It looks like tiredness. It looks like exhaustion when this goes on and just continues day after day. And it definitely feels like overwhelm. And the worst thing is, all of those feelings, that just becomes the norm for you. That's your normal state of being, right? And that's a serious thing. Like, the only way to change that and make your normal state of being one of being calm, of feeling in control, of having more balance, is if you do something like more, like something to really break the cycle, right? You have to change what you're doing if you want the result to be different. So the change I want you to do after listening to this is to get up earlier. Right, what else? Well, I've talked about the fact that you are often late and disorganized, right? So makes you being late for meetings. That tends to be a trend if you're someone who's late getting up. You're not as alert as you could be or as you need to be sometimes. And these were examples of what clients have shared with me is what happens when they are rolling into their day at the last minute. End up playing catch up. I've talked about the compensating. I've taught you miss and forget things, right? When the unexpected happens, this is a big one, right? So when something happens that's unexpected or something happens that wasn't planned, as is very normal, very typical, happens in your day-to-day job, then this is stressful. You end up reacting to it. And what I encourage you to do, like when you work with me, you learn to respond to what comes in, to the unexpected, instead of reacting to it. And that's a very different emotional state to be in, and it creates a very different result for you when you're in response. I'm in control. I know what I'm doing. I can make a decision. I know what to do next. That's responding, right? As opposed to reacting, which involves a lot of oh no, why has this happened? Why has this gotten wrong? What am I going to do now? How's this going to work, right? Two very different states to be in response to the unexpected and the unpredictable. So very, very unhelpful then, this idea of rolling into your day, always chasing it, because it sets you up into reaction mode. You're reacting to everything that happens. And actually, when you think about it, by setting your alarm based on what your first commitment is, like the last possible moment, that's reactive in itself, isn't it? As opposed to being decisive and responsive. You're always going to feel busy, right? And you're going to have this belief that so many of you have that, oh, there's not enough time for everything. I'm always busy. You're going to hold that belief and just keep reinforcing it by your experience of going through the day. I'm always too busy. There's always too much to do. I'm overwhelmed. And of course, when that happens in a prolonged period of time, what we're risking, of course, is burnout. So I don't need to burn out. And I don't want you to just get by without burning out. I don't think that's a very pleasant state either. What I want for you, because my job is to help you get better balance, lawyer with more ease this year. What I want for you is actually to feel in control of your day, to feel calm, to feel at ease, and actually enjoy your work, perhaps more than you do right now. Right. So I love this, again, to go back to my client saying, when I'm getting up early, I feel like I'm winning. So what I want to offer you is when you're not getting up early and you're just stumbling into your day and into the first commitment of the day, the first obligation, then it can feel like you're losing. So keep those two choices, because they are choices. Keep those in mind, and you decide when you set your alarm tonight which one you want to choose. Now, I know this works so well, right? And I know this experience and what you're going through and where you are right now so well, only because I've been there, right? So this used to be me. I remember working at Cleary. I remember going back to Cleary after Dylan was born, my first son, and just being mental. That adjustment you have to make when you think you're so busy before you have kids, and you think, how could I possibly be any busier or work any harder, fit in any more? And then you have a baby and you're like, okay, this is a whole nother job. This needs a whole nother person. And I have to be two people now, to live two people's lives. It is so full on. And so that was me. And I think it was being tipped almost, I guess, over the edge, right, of what I felt was sustainable, that forced me to look for other solutions. That's where I first took the step to look at my morning routine, how I was starting the day. And that journey ended with me. I read Miracle Morning, which is a book I recommend to you if you are interested in getting deeper into this work. It's amazing. It is a way of transforming your mornings that is miraculous. And some of what I certainly teach and have built upon comes from a lot of principles in that book, which I think is so powerful. But yes, so here I am now. Like the default time on my phone is 5:45. As I said, I don't always get up at that time because I've mastered this skill of getting up earlier. Doesn't have to have a fire on the clock, but I mastered the skill over so many years. I can be so adaptive depending on what I want to get out of my morning or what's going on for me that week. So I'm speaking from experience of having been there, but now being here and really wanting to sell you on the value of doing this work and how it will change things for you. So what you need to do instead, the takeaway action I have for you, what I want to recommend, you get up earlier. Doesn't have to be 5, doesn't have to be 4, doesn't even have to be 6. You work out, when would I have to get up in order to meet my first commitment or obligation or the expectation? And it could be you've got to take your kids to school, right? So the time, base it on that. The time you have to get up or would normally get up in order to meet that commitment. And then you choose to get up earlier still. That's how you decide. So the first thing is you want to decide, you want to get up earlier, right? And just as a hint, by the way, I wouldn't go like a whole hour earlier than you do right now. You might want to approach it slowly so it's not too much of a shock to your system. So that's the first thing, is to get up earlier. And then the second thing, and this is vital, is to establish a morning routine that serves you, right? That sets you up for the day. And my big recommendation, which I've already talked about, is you do not include checking your devices in that. As soon as you check your device, as soon as you open the shop, you're giving everybody permission to make demands of you, right? To take over your brain and start, like, get your brain solving problems for them, right? Or doing things, preparing for them, right? You've taken away from yourself the gift of having space to focus on you, what you need, what's going to set you up, and actually send you into your day so much better able to perform, to meet your obligations, to serve others, whatever it is your job you do in your work. So those are the two things that I recommend. Common mistakes when you get started: going too big too soon. I've just mentioned that, right? So don't go for an hour, because when you can't do it and when you wake up and your body's in shock, you'll be like, this is never going to work. I know a lot of you do that. You think, oh, I'm just too tired, right? So don't go for an hour. Do it steadily and carefully in small increments, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Get used to that and then increase it. That's what I want to recommend. Another one is, yes, when it doesn't work. So when you do have the mornings where you just can't get up, and for some reason, you just don't manage it, right? Which will happen when we're learning new habits. You won't, or your alarm won't not go off, or you won't hear it. We've had such a late night, it just doesn't happen. Do not give up. You have just got feedback. Keep going. Set your alarm again for the next day, right? Think about, well, what could I have done to make that, to have got that right, or made that different? What would have made that more successful, that attempt, right? And what can I do differently next time? So evaluate. If you fail, just evaluate and go again. This is one of the skills that you learn, that I teach you and drum into, we practice, is the skill of when you don't get the result you want, when you don't knock it out of the park the first time, you absolutely must evaluate and be ready to go again. That's how we learn new habits. That's how we build skills, get better. So be really prepared to do that. I've mentioned this before. Don't see how you feel in the morning. Trust me, you don't want to make a decision about getting up early when you wake up, when your alarm goes off, because this decision is almost always guaranteed to be, oh, actually, I'm too tired, I'm going to stay in bed, or I don't need to get up this early, it's fine, I'll do it tomorrow. Now, let's talk about then the objections that you may have been having while listening to this, or that your brain will offer you in the morning or the night before. I want you to be ready to expect them, because if you expect them, right, you're going to be able to answer them, respond to them. The first objection, this is a common one: I'm a night owl. Now, if you're telling yourself you're a night owl, then clearly, you have it planted in your brain that you're going to struggle getting up. And I just want to invite you to challenge your brain by saying, well, yes, okay, I've been a night owl until now, and that's just the habit I have, I can be an early bird. I can choose to be an early bird, right? And just experiment with having a different thought about yourself. Telling yourself you're a night owl is just a self-concept, a way of thinking about yourself. You're totally free to change that. And when you change the way you think about yourself, that's how your behavior follows. Your brain will offer you, I need my sleep. My sleep's really important to me. Absolutely. Sleep is critical. It's so important. What I want to recommend is that you get your sleep, you shift it to other times of the day. Now, you may not, and most likely won't always have control over your bedtime when work comes in. But be honest with me now. There's a good chunk of time in the evenings that is lost, what I call lost time when you're not necessarily using it intentionally. It's the wind down time. Winding down is really important. I want to encourage you to just be really intentional about your winding down and the amount of time that you just lose because you just haven't motivated yourself to get to bed yet. So that's all a way of saying, don't let the thought, I need my sleep, stop you from getting up early. Look at your other habits, your other behaviors, and see if you can compensate, right? So get the extra rest in place of other habits that aren't serving you, right? Or at least some nights, you could say, like some nights I'm going to be going to bed early. There's just lots of room for you to play around with it, and just don't allow yourself to dismiss this game-changing new habit, right, with the thought that I need lots of sleep. So do I, so does everybody. And that shouldn't be the hurdle. That's something we get into in imposter syndrome coaching. 3 other objections you may have. I don't want to wake my partner or the dog or the kids. I'm having a day off today, or it's too dark. I'll wait till the summer. Just know these are all objections. Your brain will offer them to you, and just be willing to challenge them when the time comes, just for long enough to try this and to see what a difference it will make. So in imposter syndrome coaching, I teach you all of this. It's for lawyers only. It's one of the strategies we use to help you manage your time better. And when you're managing your time so much better, of course, you're getting better balance, and you'll be able to do your job with so much more ease. Lawyering with ease, that's what I love to call it. So if this is you, if you're ready to do this work, to start getting up early, if you want to take control of your day, if balance, lawyering with ease is on your list of goals this year, which it should be, I hope it is, then you've got to join Imposter Syndrome Coaching. We're open for enrollment now. We kick off in February. All you have to do is sign up via the link. I've put it in the notes. It will also be, if you're seeing this on social media, it will also, of course, be in my bio, and very easy to find on the website, carolineflanagan.com/imposter syndrome coaching. That's it from me today. I will be back in the next day or so with more value to offer you, to suggest ways in which you could already start doing this work and really understand the kind of work we do inside imposter syndrome coaching, which is such a game changer. Thanks for listening. I'll be back in touch. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.